Hey, what's up mortals? Zigzag here, and welcome to part 1 of What If Naruto Had a Leveling System. Just wanted to invite you guys to sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. And so, we begin. Everything started with a strange portal. This portal was like a gateway to another dimension. Shinobi from rival clans would enter and find themselves encountering large and dangerous creatures. Some of these creatures were easy to defeat, others not so much, but whenever they were defeated, they would usually drop something. These items that were dropped were unlike anything that had ever been seen before. They were found to be extremely valuable. Merchants felt that they had a resemblance to crystals, and over time they became more and more valuable. Official names for these items even started turning up, like chakra cores for ones dropped by powerful beasts and chakra crystals for the smaller crystal lookalikes usually found within the portal. More portals would continue to appear, with several shinobi entering, sometimes teaming up with their worst enemies in order to make it out alive. After all, some of these portals had beasts with enough strength to rival the Biju. More and more of these portals appeared, and they became more and more deadly. Eventually, a young man by the name of Hashirama Senju decided to put an end to the period of the warring clans. Too many shinobi were dying in battle, and against these strange creatures on the other side of the portals, ones that would sometimes even make it into the ninja world and attack everyone in sight. Many people did not live to see the age of 13 before drawing their last breath in this time of violence and chaos. After years of trying to make peace with the Uchiha clan, he managed to convince their clan leader, Madara Uchiha, to form the very first shinobi village, one which would be named Konohagakure. From there, everything was history. Many other villages would be formed, following the blueprints that Hashirama and Madara laid down for them. Over the years, the villages would train their young ones to become ninja themselves. Ninja that could work in teams to cover for each other's weaknesses and increase their chances of survival when going through a portal. Portals that they eventually began to call dungeons, and would even host games from. These dungeons were extremely profitable for shinobi. After collecting chakra cores and taking down the monsters within the dungeons, the ninja could get a good sum of money for their efforts. Naturally, the life of a shinobi would grow to become glorified by many who were incapable of going through the dungeons themselves. This sort of glorification would be passed down from adults to children. Younger generations would show an extreme admiration for the ninja of their village, and would desire to be just like them, whether for the respect they'd gain, or because of the lucrative business they had. For Naruto Uzumaki, it was the former. He was treated horribly for most of his life. He was an orphan, no family to call his own. He had to fend for himself. Sure, the third Hokage gave him money every month to pay for rent and food, but by the time he finished paying for his apartment, he only had enough money to pay for the bare minimum of food. No one batted an eye when he was being chased by other villagers. They could care less about him. He even remembered them calling him a demon fox for some reason sometimes. If it weren't for those occasions though, the only other times he'd ever get any attention was when he pulled his pranks. Despite his troublesome nature, he did desire to earn the respect of the entire village. He wanted to be admired by the masses, and he realized early on that the only way he would get that would be by becoming Hokage. He had some issues at first with him being unable to create regular clones, but he found a different way to form clones one day after stealing the scroll of sealing on behalf of his former sensei, Mizuki. When he stole it though, he was under the impression that this was so he could graduate from the academy after another failed attempt at trying to make a clone, so he suffered no punishment. He actually graduated since he could actually make proper functioning clones for the first time in his life. He was made a genin that day. It was easily one of the happiest moments of his life. The next day he found that he would be put into a team with Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. Although he had some feelings for Sakura, he despised Sasuke, so he didn't know how to feel about being in this team. His mood soured when their Jonin sensei, Kakashi Hatake, showed up late. "Sorry, I lost track of time while going through one of the dungeons," Kakashi tried to explain. Naruto immediately caught him in his lie. "Liar! They would have reported your absence in the shinobi logs if that were true!" Naruto screamed. Kakashi just sighed and rubbed his temples, hearing Naruto's yell. He didn't feel like dealing with this today, so he switched topics. informing everyone not to eat anything tomorrow since they'd be going through some pretty ruthless training. He didn't want them to throw up their breakfasts after all. The next day, they all met up at the same location. He'd get proper introductions out of the way with no one really getting any information out of him. All he really said was his name, but they knew that already from yesterday. They ended up introducing themselves as well, but properly. Kakashi actually learned a couple of things about them, although his students couldn't say the same about him. It wasn't all that important in the long run though. They were going to be doing the bell test in one of the easier dungeons today. Naruto was all up for this. He was never allowed to visit any of the dungeons since he wasn't even a genin until now. Even Sasuke and Sakura showed an interest in going through a real dungeon. I have 2 bells here. When we go through that portal, you'll be dealing with some pretty weak monsters, but your goal will be to get one of the bells from me. Whoever doesn't get a bell will be sent right back to the academy, Kakashi stated. Kakashi-sensei, sir? Pardon me for asking this, but why are there only 2 bells if that's the case? Sakura questioned. Rather simple, really. To be honest, only a maximum of 2 of you will be passing. This shook everyone to their cores. There was no way any of them could afford going back to the academy. They'd be a laughingstock if that happened. In Sasuke's case, it would be a hindrance towards his goal of avenging the Uchiha clan. Kakashi led them towards a relatively small portal and explained that they'd have a couple of hours to find him and capture the bells. He wished them good luck before stepping through. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, who I'm sure will contribute as much as she can to this trip, followed his lead before immediately being confronted by several goblins. Sakura squealed in terror and hid behind Sasuke. The black-haired boy grunted in annoyance before performing some hand signs in order to summon a fireball jutsu, incinerating his opponents. Naruto weaved the hand signs of his multi-shadow clone jutsu and made 10 duplicates in order to combat the rest of the goblins. They weren't all that hard to defeat, they were just tricky to find at times, since the first ones that they saw were definitely not the last. In actuality, there were many more hiding in the dark corners of the dungeon. They would attempt sneak attacks, sneaking up and then pouncing on the newly made genin, but the 2 boys found themselves covering each other's backs. Sakura would manage to kill some too, but not quite as many as Naruto and Sasuke. Once they were done with that group of goblins, they left to search for Kakashi. They needed to get their hands on those bells after all. While searching for the copy ninja, they fought through swarms of goblins. Their clothes were drenched in blood and everyone was exhausted by this fight. They were breathing heavily. They didn't know how much more of this they could take. 2 hours had passed and there was still no sign of their Jonin instructor. The trio were beginning to lose hope, until they encountered a strange door. It was an unusual sight as it didn't seem to match with the rest of the dungeon's theme. They were unable to find Kakashi at all throughout the rest of the dungeon, so the trio had a feeling he was in there. The aura coming from the door was ominous, though. Everything told them not to open that door. But the preteens decided to go against their better judgment and pushed open the door. "What are you 3 doing?" Sasuke turned around and saw Kakashi with a book in his hand. The bells were tied to his waist. He wanted to make a grab for the bells as soon as he saw the silver-haired ninja, but he stopped himself. That wouldn't be a smart move at all. The man was a Jonin after all, and incredibly skilled in comparison to him. He probably had something up his sleeves if Sasuke tried something as brazen as just snatching the bells from him. I've never seen this sort of door before. I wonder what's inside. Naruto and Sakura had only managed to just push the door open halfway, since Sasuke decided to stop helping in their endeavors. They were so caught up in pushing open the door that they didn't even hear Kakashi's voice. Kakashi body flickered over to the door and managed to make relatively quick work of it. He applied enough force to give them easy access to whatever was behind the door. The students looked at him in awe, considering how hard they were struggling beforehand. To them, it showed just how strong the Jonin was. They quickly snapped back to reality and tried to pull a fast one on the older male. Kakashi grabbed Naruto and Sakura's arms as soon as they attempted to grab the bells from him. Sasuke tried to send a kick into Kakashi's back, but the copy ninja ducked under the Uchiha. Sasuke found himself being the first one out of the group to enter the second dungeon. He collapsed on one knee. Kakashi flung Sakura and Naruto into the dungeon as well before he entered himself. After observing the scenery, there were some of the largest statues he'd ever seen, and the way they were shaped came off as odd to him. The statue in the middle appeared to be the largest out of them, and it was sitting on a throne. Kakashi didn't really know what these statues represented, but the oldest comparison he could make was to the feudal lords. The statues could have been representing royalty. The three younger ninja brought their attention over to some ancient text written on a tablet. They called Kakashi over to read what the text said. At this point, it seemed that the bell test would have to be postponed with this new predicament. But it wasn't much of an issue. He could probably turn this into a teamwork exercise of some sort if he wanted to. The text was ancient, but Kakashi managed to make out some of the words. Bow, praise, and prove your faith. What does that mean? Kakashi wondered. The doors shut as soon as he read out those words. He saw the statue's eyes shift down towards them. He could see Sakura begin to back up in fear. How interesting. She could kill goblins without much hesitation. At least he hoped that's what she was doing while she was looking for him. But it appeared these statues unnerved her a bit more. He couldn't really blame her though. These statues were already huge, but adding to that they could move, well, that was unusual. It even made his skin crawl. Naruto wanted to leave the place as soon as possible, but he didn't know what would happen to him if he did. Would he be hurt in the process? He summoned a couple of shadow clones in order to perform an experiment. He sent the shadow clone towards the entrance only for them to get blasted by the statue from the throne. They can shoot lasers! Naruto screamed. Kakashi was perplexed as well. This was weird even for him. He'd been in plenty of dungeons throughout the years, and he had never seen anything like this. Naruto, make another clone, but this time have him run over to the door. Keep close to the ground. Naruto created another clone, which followed Kakashi's instructions, but ended up getting destroyed by the two statues guarding the door. Kakashi had to think about their options. Maybe attacking these guys could work, but he had a feeling that simple jutsu wasn't going to work. He couldn't get close to these guys either. This was quite a predicament they were in. He cursed his luck. Kakashi wasn't about to let another team die. He thought long and hard about what would be the best option here, and he realized something. Something about what he read earlier. Bow, worship, and prove your faith. Those weren't just random words, far from it. These were instructions. He had a feeling that the tablet's text was giving them directions here. Everyone, get down and bow to the statue sitting in the throne, Kakashi ordered. Everyone looked at Kakashi, confused as to why he would give them such a strange order. Bow down before a statue that'll shoot lasers at you? Was he insane? When they saw him bow, though, they really didn't have much else to do. No one was coming up with any brighter ideas after all, so everyone bowed alongside Kakashi. They peeked up to see the royal statue form a creepy, toothy smile on its face. It lifted itself off of its throne and started stepping forward, leaving craters in its wake as it stepped towards them. Sakura was the first to get up. She screamed at the top of her lungs. The monster was even more terrifying now. She started running to one of the corners, but there was another statue there. The statue was frozen at first, until she got near it. The thing had a weapon attached to it, and it was about to swipe down at her. But Kakashi body flickered over to her just in time to save her from an unfortunate fate. Sasuke looked over to the statues and noticed that a few were holding weapons. If you were to get close to one that had a weapon, it would attack you. Okay, good to know. But he saw that there were also some who had musical instruments. What would happen if he made his way over to one of those? Would it play music? It was worth a shot in his book. After all, the second part of the text mentioned something about praising the statue. Music could be a form of praise, right? The Uchiha dodged an attack from the divine sculpture and rolled over to a statue with a harp. His theory proved correct because it did begin to play music. He sighed in relief as the creepy monarch statue ignored him now and focused on the rest of the team. Everyone get close to the statues with instruments. They won't attack you, only play music. And that freakazoid over there will ignore you. Kakashi ran over to a statue with a flute. Naruto made his way to a statue with a drum. Sakura found her way over to a statue with a violin. Each and every one of these statues began playing music, which seemed to activate a third part of the trial. An altar appeared in the middle of the dungeon. With everything that they had dealt with so far, this was relatively normal in comparison, although they didn't really understand where it came from. Those little details weren't really important right now anyway. "Prove your faith," Kakashi whispered. He had a grave feeling about what had to be done here. He was their sensei though, and it was his responsibility to ensure the safety of the next generation of ninja. He walked over to the altar, expecting some extreme torture or punishment to befall him, but nothing happened. Did it require more sacrifices? Oh no, his heart sank. He couldn't have his former master's son be sacrificed along himself, and Sasuke was the second to last Uchiha in existence. Sakura, come here. More sacrifices are required for this to work. What? Why me? Do you want to see Sasuke die, Sakura? No, but why can't Naruto sacrifice himself instead? He's the run of the group after all, we'd be doing ourselves a favour. Kakashi didn't want to argue with the girl right now, but Naruto ended up walking over to the altar as well. Kakashi blinked in surprise. Why would Naruto willingly sacrifice himself? What about his dreams of becoming Hokage one day? Was he really okay with throwing all of that away? Naruto was also the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, which made him extremely important to the Leaf Village. Why isn't anything happening? Does it need even more sacrifices? Naruto pondered. Sasuke sighed before making his way over to the altar. Sakura, like the follower she was, did the same. There were 4 flames around the altar now. They were once orange but turned blue as soon as Sakura stepped in. Was she special or something? Their attention was redirected to the doors that had opened up. With absolutely no hesitation, Sakura ran for her freedom. Sasuke did the same. Kakashi and Naruto were about to leave as well, but they noticed that the door was closing on them. Naruto had used a lot of chakra throughout his time in the dungeon, and the effects were beginning to show. Kakashi ran for the exit, and Naruto tried doing the same, but he wasn't fast enough. One of the golems struck him with his weapon, a spear of some kind. Naruto pushed himself back up and saw the animated statues closing in on him. He couldn't even make any shadow clones right now, but even though he felt weak, he still had the desire to live. A red aura began to envelop him. He felt stronger and faster as he pounced on some of the art pieces. He wasn't really doing any damage to them though. He was just trying to make his way to the exit. But a golem stabbed him through the chest with a sword. He began gurgling up blood. His vision was fading in and out. His body was screaming at him, and he felt weak. He couldn't believe this was the way he'd die. How pathetic.
Agreed.
Was that another voice that just spoke? Oh well. It didn't even matter at this point, did it? He was going to die and that was that. Well, that was the plan anyway. Until a blue screen appeared in front of him, which explained to him how he had completed all of the requirements of some secret quest by the name of the Quest of the Jinchuriki. You have gained the right to become a player. Do you accept? Yes or no? Naruto was so confused at what he was reading right now. Was he hallucinating? You don't have a lot of time left. If you refuse, your heart shall stop functioning within 0.02 seconds. Do you accept? Naruto still thought this was some sort of illusion, but decided to accept whatever this message was saying about becoming a player. Who knew? Maybe he would live after all by accepting this illusion's message. Welcome, player. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few things I'd like to go over before the video ends. First, we've got a primary channel called We the Celestials. We the Celestials does basically what we do here already, but their content is centered around the crazy world and lore of My Hero Academia. So please, check us out over there if you're feeling in the mood for a roller coaster of quirky content. We also have another relative to our channel, Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series, guaranteed. I'd like to let you all know on behalf of We the Celestials that I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here at WTC, then I would like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members over 16 years old. You can find us on our Discord, which you can locate in the description below. Our Discord is an all-round fantastic place to be. Whether you're just a fan or looking to join our band of misfits, all you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whatever category of work you're interested in. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day.